Welcome to the show. I'm Dan. For this week, we'll be covering Pavel Durov, founder and CEO of Telegram, arrested by French authorities. I'll give my takes on this upsetting free speech threat. California Senate passed AB 1840 Dream for All program, which gives undocumented illegals a chance to own a home. I'm not asking for a handout, but damn, way to snub Americans' right to own a home. RFK Jr. cancels his elections. We'll react to his last week address on a specific topic that I totally 100% agree, and no one else with this stature and recognition is talking about it. Stay to the end. 300,000 children has gone missing. I'll give the details on that complete failure of the DHS. Reporting on stories that are interesting and my takes and opinions on these stories for entertainment and educational purposes. Let's get into it on this segment of What the News. Appreciate y'all being here. Let the culture speak. Pavel Durov, the Russian mastermind behind the Telegram, just got busted in Paris. He rolled up to the airport on his private jet, and the police were waiting with a warrant. Word is the French are salty about Telegram's laid-back moderation and encryption, and Durov allegedly ignoring the authorities. They're trying to pin some heavy stuff on him, like with allegations of complicit in drug trafficking, pedophilia offenses, and fraud, it said. Durov's got passports from France, the UAE, St. Kitts and Nevis, and Russia, but that ain't saving him now. He's facing a possible 20-year bid and might catch heat for violating EU sanctions on Russia. The arrest warrant only works in France, so what was Durov thinking? This has the internet going nuts, with some people seeing it as an attack on free speech. Hashtag Free Durov is trending, and folks are showing support. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said France just arrested Pavel Durov, founder and CEO of the encrypted and uncensored Telegram platform. The need to protect free speech has never been more urgent. Naomi Sebit is saying it's a test run and Elon Musk is the real target. Candace Owens is saying it's about controlling the narrative, and Durov's refusal to play along is why he got pinched. Robin Minotti is saying Durov is facing 20 years for refusing to censor content. Is the West trying to control Telegram? Folks are remembering how Durov said Western agencies were on his tail trying to use his platform to spy on users.
We got too much attention from the FBI, the security agencies, wherever we came to the US. So to give you an example, last time I was in the US, I brought an engineer that is working for Telegram, and there was an attempt to secretly hire my engineer behind my back by cybersecurity officers or agents, wherever they are called.
The US government tried to hire your engineer?
That's my understanding. That's what he told me.
To write code for them or to break into Telegram?
They were curious to learn which open source libraries are integrated to the Telegram's app, on the client side, and they were trying to persuade him to use certain open source tools that he would then integrate into the Telegram's code that, in my understanding, would serve as backdoors.
Would allow the US government to spy on people who use Telegram?
The US government, or maybe any other government, because a backdoor is a backdoor regardless of who is using it.
That's right.
And
that's a little surprising to hear. Maybe it's not surprising, it's offensive. You're confident that happened?
Yes.
As of 2024, Telegram has around 900 million monthly active users. Mario Nawfal is wondering why the corporate press is staying mum and is saying the US wants to control Telegram. Sean McGuire is comparing Durov's situation to if the internet inventors got locked up because people used it illegally. Elon Musk co-signed with a simple exactly. Dr. Robert Malone is saying he's sickened by the arrest and France is now a no-go zone. Kim.com is sounding an alarm, saying the war on free speech is escalating. Breaking news from yesterday, Pavel Durov has been officially indicted by a French prosecutor with bail set at 5 million euros and a travel restriction preventing him from leaving France. What's your take? Is this a legitimate move or a power play to control the flow of information? Telegram, it's like the wild west of the internet, right? Durov, he's the sheriff, but he ain't about censoring. He's about letting us have our say even when it ain't the popular opinion. And that's what makes Telegram different. That's what makes it special. It's like the cipher in your hood where rappers can spit some real truth without some suit trying to shut them down. But now with Durov locked up, we're all in danger. Because if the powers that be can just snatch up the man running the show, then ain't nothing stopping him from silencing all of us. It's like if they shut down the cipher just because they didn't like what they were hearing. You know what I'm saying? That's some scary shit. And it ain't just the French government we gotta worry about. It's them too, but it's bigger than that. The US and France, they're in cahoots. They're tag teaming to take down our last real outlets. They already got Facebook, WhatsApp, Snapchat, YouTube, Google. They're like the thought police. And we ain't got much left. So yeah. Hashtag free Durov is more than just a hashtag. It's a battle cry. It's us standing up and saying, nah, we ain't going out like that. We got to keep pushing, keep grinding them down, keep our voices loud. Because if we don't, then who will? And if we don't, then what's the point of any of it? Let me know in the comments. That's all I got to say about that. Yeah, moving on. The Senate just passed a wild bill 23-11 that could help undocumented folks in Cali get cash for a down payment on a house. Now it's on Governor Gavin Newsom's desk. Will he give it the green light or shut it down? The bill, AB1840, was put forth by Assemblyman Joaquin Arambula, Democrat Fresno. It would change up the California Dream for All program, now called the Home Purchase Assistance Program, so undocumented folks could get in on the action. Right now, the program hooks people up with 20% down payment assistance up to $150,000, zero interest, but the competition is fierce. Only 1,700 out of 18,000 applicants got in this year. The bill will open the floodgates because the program is all about helping low middle income first time buyers. But hold up. Not all undocumented folks would qualify. They need a taxpayer ID number or social security number to even apply. The bill says you don't deny someone just because of their immigration status if they meet all the other requirements. Since it dropped earlier this year, AB 1840 has been the subject of some heated debates. Arambula's all like, folks in Cali are getting denied even though they're paying taxes. Housing needs to be for everyone. But Republicans and some Democrats are like, this is going to cost more money we don't have. And we can't be giving cash to people who broke the law to get here, even if they do pay taxes. They're saying this could even get blocked in court if it becomes law. The group sponsoring the bill, the Coalition of Human Immigrant Rights, gets tens of millions from the government but barely helps immigrants just wanting taxpayers to cover the cost. The bill's been divisive all year. It's barely passed the assembly in May, 56-15 with 9 abstaining, and was even held up in committee earlier this month. On Tuesday, it squeaked through the Senate 23-11 with 6 Democrats choosing not to vote. If they joined the Republicans in voting no, it would have been way closer. Opponents are pointing out the California Dream program already ran out of cash after just 11 days this year. So to include undocumented folks, they'd have to approve more funding in the future, which is unlikely since the state is already deep in debt. As California Senate Minority Leader Brian Jones, Republican San Diego, put it, should we be giving free cash to undocumented folks when legal residents, including vets, teachers, and families can't even afford a home. Every dollar to an undocumented person is one less dollar for legal residents. California already spends $5 billion per year on free healthcare for undocumented folks. Will it ever be enough for Democrats? I'm not even mad, I'm just confused. Like, how is this fair to anyone who followed the rules? Think about it. You got people from all over, 137 countries possibly, they say, pouring in through our open borders. And what's the reward for breaking the law? A stack of cash to help buy a house, courtesy of the American taxpayer. What about the folks who did it the right way? They played by the rules, waited in line, learned the language, and actually became part of the community. Do they get a dime? No. And let's not even get started on the other freebies. Housing vouchers, food stamps, debit cards, driver's license. It's like a welcome package or something. You know, who ain't getting none of that? People who were born here or immigrated legally. They're still out here struggling while others reap the benefits. And have you seen the housing market lately? It's crazy out there. Prices are already through the roof because of demand and a shortage of actual homes. You think giving illegal immigrants down payments is gonna make things better? Please, it's just gonna drive prices up more, making it even harder for regular folks to own a piece of the American dream. So, I gotta ask, what's the logic here? Is this really how we want to be prioritizing our tax dollars? Are illegal immigrants really the ones who should be getting the benefits? And what about the legal immigrants, or just regular Americans struggling to get by? Something about this bill ain't right. It's like our government is snubbing the very people who are doing things the correct way. And for what? So they can look good welcoming folks who didn't even follow the rules? Change needs to come, and fast. That's all I gotta say about that. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Let's move on. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. suspended his independent presidential campaign and endorsed Donald Trump on August 23, 2024. Kennedy's decision came after he had been dropping in the polls in recent weeks. He blamed Democrats for running a relentless campaign against his independent candidacy. The endorsement was met with scrutiny from multiple members of the Kennedy family, with his brother Max Kennedy calling the endorsement inconceivable and imploring the public to ignore his siblings' decision. But we're just going to react to his speech from last week. Very interesting takes, very smart guy. The only thing I really was fascinated about his speech was he was talking about the foods.
Why are we allowing this to happen to our children? These are the most precious assets that we have in this country. How can we let this happen to them? About 18% of American teens now have fatty liver disease. That's like 1 out of every 5. That disease, when I was a kid, only affected late-stage alcoholics who were elderly. Cancer rates are skyrocketing in the young and the old. Young adult cancers are up 79%. 1 in 4 American women is on antidepressant medication. 40% of teens have a mental health diagnosis. And 15% of high schoolers are on Adderall, and 500,000 children on SSRIs. So what's causing this suffering? I'll name 2 culprits. First, and the worst, is ultra-processed food. About 70% of American children's diet is ultra-processed. That means industrial manufactured in a factory. These foods consist primarily of processed sugar, ultra-processed grains, and seed oils. Laboratory scientists who many of whom formerly worked for the cigarette industry, which purchased all the big food companies in the 1970s and 80s, deployed thousands of scientists to figure out chemicals, new chemicals, to make the food more addictive. And these ingredients didn't exist 100 years ago. Humans aren't biologically adapted to eat them. Hundreds of these chemicals are now banned in Europe but ubiquitous in American processed foods. The second culprit is toxic chemicals in our food, our medicine, in our environment. Pesticides, food additives, pharmaceutical drugs, and toxic waste permeate every cell of our bodies. The assault on our children's cells and hormones is unrelenting. To name just one problem, many of these chemicals increase estrogen because young children are ingesting so many of these hormone disruptors. America's puberty rate is now occurring at age 10 to 13, which is 6 years earlier than girls were reaching puberty in 1900. Our country has the earliest puberty rates of any continent on the earth. And no, this isn't because of better nutrition. This is not normal. Breast cancer is also estrogen driven, and it now strikes 1 in 8 women. We are mass poisoning all of our children and our adults.
Very smart guy. I don't know why some people think he's kind of not well. Mind his voice. Just like listen to what he just said. He's talking about the pharmaceutical companies. He's talking about the foods that is poisoning us adults and kids. Look at the ingredients on your boxes. That's a lot of ingredients. And again, it's not normal. Having chronic diseases in our foods and making us sick, making our kids sick, and you wonder why we're sick. I have 2 more clips, but he brings in the tobacco industry also.
Considering the grievous human cost of this tragic epidemic of chronic disease, it seems almost crass to mention the damage it does to our economy. But I'll say, it is crippling the nation's finances. When my uncle was president, our country spent $0 on chronic disease. Today, government health care spending is almost all for chronic disease. And it's double the military budget. And it is the fastest growing budget item in the federal budget. And chronic disease costs more to the economy as a whole, costs at least $4 trillion, 5 times our military budget. And that's a 20% drag on everything we do and everything we aspire to. Poor and minority communities suffer disproportionately. People who worry about DEI or about bigotry of any kind, this dwarfs anything. We are poisoning the poor. We are systematically poisoning minorities across this country. Industry lobbyists have made sure that most of the food stamp lunch program, about 70% of food stamps and about 70 or 77% of school lunches are processed foods. There's no vegetables. There's nothing that you would want to eat. We are just poisoning the poor citizens, and that's why they have the highest chronic disease burden of anybody, any demographic in our country, and the highest in the world. The same food industry lobbied to make sure that nearly all agricultural subsidies go to commodity crops that are the feedstock of processed food industry. These policies are destroying small farms, and they're destroying our soils. We give about, I think, 8 times as much in subsidies to tobacco than we do to fruits and vegetables. It makes no sense. If we want a healthy country, the good news is that we can change all this.
He just laid out everything about our foods that a lot of people are talking about. Processed foods, it goes through a process, cleaning, dousing it with different types of chemicals, food coloring, red 40, and we just blindly just eat it because we're not very educated on the facts on what is being processed through our foods. We take in a lot of banned foods that that other countries don't take. UK, France, Australia. There's a profit to be made with people being sick, especially in pharmaceutical companies. They treat the symptoms, not cure it at all. But the great thing is that he brings up solutions because it's not the end of what we are facing now. That could be changed. talk about it more, elect the right people, especially the people that are talking about it. I think he should definitely be in the FDA or CDC, somewhere near where health is, to get us back to what we really need as Americans and not as sick Americans that could be easily profit off of. So it's very fascinating what he just said. Well, let's get to this last one.
We can change it very, very quickly. America can get healthy again. To do that, we need to do three things. First, we need to root out the corruption in our health agencies. Second, we need to change incentives in our healthcare system. And third, we need to inspire Americans to get healthy again. 80% of NIH grants go to people who have conflicts of interest. These are the people, virtually everybody who sits, Joe Biden just appointed a new panel to NIH to decide the food recommendations. And they're all people who are from the industry. They're all people who are from the processed food companies. They're deciding what Americans, here is healthy. And the recommendations on the food pyramid and what goes to our school lunch programs, what go to the program, the Swiss program, the food stamp programs. They are all corrupted and conflicted individuals. These agencies, the FDA, USDA, and CDC, all of them are controlled by giant for-profit corporations. 75% of the FDA's funding doesn't come from taxpayer, it comes from pharma. And pharma executives and consultants and lobbyists cycle in and out of these agencies with President Trump's backing. I'm going to change that. We're going to staff these agencies with honest scientists and doctors who are free from industry funding. We're going to make sure the decisions of consumers, doctors, and patients are informed by unbiased science. A sick child is the best thing for the pharmaceutical industry. When American children or adults get sick with a chronic condition, they're put on medication for their entire life.
100% agree. RFK, only person I know right now is talking about it. And yeah, he has my vote. They have my vote. Just on that specific reason, yes, no one else is talking about it. That's just my opinion. That's the policies I like to hear, and it's great. He's been around for a very long time, sees the corruption through these agencies, CDC, FDA. They're all compromised. There is no incentive to make us healthy. There is definitely an incentive to make us sick, to give us medications. The money that they make off of these pills, these Ozempic shots, everything, it's a for-profit. Their whole corporation is to make money off us being sick. They will go bankrupt if they cure anything. I saw a post, I think it said 175 years of Pfizer and they haven't cured any disease. Congrats. Woo. But yeah, that's it. That's all I gotta say. Comment below and let's move on. Homeland Security report just dropped and it's about some crazy stats. Like, where's the accountability? Nearly 300,000 young kids who crossed the border alone, poof, gone. Nobody knows where they're at. This all went down under the Biden administration, and you know who was leading the charge on immigration? Kamala Harris, the VP trying to be president. What's the plan though? Because ICE ain't got a clue what's good with these kids. No court dates, no following up. They just vanish. Think about it. No way to know if they're safe from getting exploited, trafficked, forced into labor. That's on Kamala, who Biden put in charge of slowing down that border surge. But what happened? 10 million encounters with illegals, 8 million just at the southwest border. That ain't slowing down nothing. Millions more flying into the US directly and even into Canada coming through our northern border. And them official entry points, forget about it. Went from 20,000 in 2021 to 117,000 this June. Why the surprise, right? Kamala herself said back in 2015, an undocumented immigrant ain't a criminal. So what's the incentive to do things the right way? They tried to fix this, dropped new rules in 2023 to track these missing youths, but ICE ain't bothering to follow that either. Still an understaffed, still don't got the resources. How you gonna keep kids safe when you can't even check on them? This report is straight up calling out ICE. Time to step it up. Make sure these young folks are good. Because right now they're sitting ducks for getting taken advantage of. That ain't the way it's supposed to be. 300,000 immigrant kids just gone. These are vulnerable children we were supposed to protect. What kind of messed up shit is that? Number one of human trafficking of children is caused by open border. Kamala Harris, she's in charge of the border, but instead of owning up, she's just deflecting blame. That's cold. Doesn't she care about these kids? And the rest of the Biden team, they're just as bad, acting like nothing's wrong. Where's the urgency? Where's the outrage? They're just sitting there doing nothing while kids are at risk. And Congress, they're supposed to hold folks accountable, but they're silent. That's a betrayal. Point blank. And then there's Mayorkas, head of DHS. He's been failing from the start. He needs to own up and step down now. But we can't just blame the leaders. We, the people, we gotta take some blame too. Why ain't we demanding answers? Why so quiet? Like, that's legitimately fucking weak. This whole thing, man. It's a shame. We're letting kids fall through the cracks, maybe in danger. What does that say about us? We need action now. We need to find these kids, make sure they're safe. We need to investigate and make folks pay. This ain't about party. It's about being human. If we can't get this right, what does that make us? We gotta do better. These kids are counting on us, Americans. Step up. Step up. Talk about it. Share this. It's outrageous. 300,000. Last year, they reported 85,000. And that was just going to go up. It wasn't going to stop. Guys, this is ridiculous. Well, that's the end of the show. I'll be back next week again on What the News, reporting on probably the Venezuela gangs in Denver, Colorado that are taking over apartment buildings. It's a crazy story. I've been hearing about it all day. And yeah, what are we going to do about it, Americans? What are we doing? It's like we fucking have Stockholm Syndrome. Look up Stockholm Syndrome. That's what we have. We've been fucked so much with fear, with threats, and we're just going to say yes. We'll do whatever you want. Just leave us alone. Like, fuck that, man. Fuck that. Anyways, like, share, and follow to help grow this channel and to help yourself stay up to date on new news. Hit that bell icon for weekly What the News and Let Culture Speak videos. Peace out.